Welcome to the DCTV News at Noon program. I'm Kelsey Kiesling.
And I'm Kendra Cook. Dolores County Broadcasting Network is the producer of DCTV with support from the Southwest TV Translator Association.
If you have a news topic or event you'd like to see covered, give us a call. The studio number is 677-4119.
Today's show runs Tuesday at noon, 3 and 6 p.m. and again is re-aired later throughout the weekend and the other weekday broadcast replays. Today is February 13th, 2018, and now the news at noon.
According to the Cortez Journal, Colorado Senate Democrats are calling for the resignation of Republican Senator Randy Baumgardner. KUNC reports a former legislative aide says Baumgardner, who represents Hot Sulphur Springs, slapped and grabbed her rear multiple times in 2016. The Employers Council, an outside legal firm, wrapped up an investigation into the allegation earlier this month. The group found the claim credible, according to KUNC. In a statement, Senate Democrats say Republican leaders have delayed and rebuffed efforts to punish Baumgardner. The Democratic caucus called for Baumgardner to step down. In the meantime, they want Senate leaders to strip him of his committee chairmanships.
Reported in the Durango Herald, a helicopter crash that killed 3 British tourists and left 4 others critically injured happened on tribal land in the Grand Canyon, where air tours are not as highly regulated as those inside the national park. Killed were veterinary receptionist Becky Dobson, 27, her boyfriend Stuart Hill, a 30-year-old car salesman, and his brother Jason Hill, a 32-year-old lawyer. Unlike the national park, air tours on the Hualapai Reservation are not subject to federal regulations that restrict routes, impose curfews, and cap the amount of flights over the Grand Canyon each year. The Federal Aviation Administration granted the Hualapai tribe an exemption nearly 2 decades ago after finding that the regulations would harm the tribe's economy, where tourism is a major driver. Most of the flights over the reservation originate from Las Vegas, and Air Tour operates aggressively market them. The pilots can fly between canyon walls and land at the bottom next to the Colorado River on the reservation, which isn't allowed at the park other than for emergency operations. Landing pads sit upstream and downstream from where the copter owned by Papillon Grand Canyon Helicopters crashed on Saturday, constantly ferrying people on and off aircraft. The National Transportation Safety Board is investigating what led to the crash in a remote area where rescuers had to fly in, hike to the site, and use night vision goggles to find their way around, Hualapai Nation Police Chief Francis Bradley said. And windy conditions and the rugged terrain made it difficult to reach the wreckage. The agency won't say with any certainty what caused the crash until its investigative report is released in a year and a half or two. The NTSB generally releases preliminary information about a week after investigators wrap up work at the site. Papillon said it is cooperating with the investigation and abides by flight safety rules that exceed those required by the FAA. Hualapai tribal leaders said Monday that they're halting helicopter tours at the canyon for now and are working with federal investigators to find out exactly what happened here in what marks the first such incident to claim the life of a passenger in the West Rim in 15 years. Aviation attorney Gary C. Robb said potential factors were winds of 10 miles an hour with gusts of 20 miles an hour, pilot error, mechanical failure, or pressure within the company to meet the demand for tours. Investigators hope to speak to the 4 survivors as they begin to recover from critical injuries, Stein said. The pilot, 42-year-old Scott Booth, suffered a limb injury, tribal police said. The other survivors from the United Kingdom are Ellie Millward, 29, Jonathan Udall, 32, and Jennifer Barham, age 39.
Reported by the Durango Herald, a petition drive to recall La Plata County Commissioner Gwen Lachelt raised questions last week about where it is legal to collect signatures. A signing station was set up Thursday at the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 4031, a nonprofit near 15th Street and Main Avenue. Almost immediately, a handful of residents singled out the station at the VFW because it is a nonprofit, and they questioned if nonprofits are allowed to accommodate such political activity or if doing so violates their federal tax status. Richard Stanford, a spokesman with the IRS Media Relations Office in Washington, D.C., said federal disclosure laws and regulations bar IRS personnel from commenting on specific tax matters of specific tax-exempt organizations. He provided links to various IRS policies on tax-exempt organizations on the agency's website. Steve White, commander of VFW Post 4031, said on Monday that because several people had raised objections, including questions about the post's tax-exempt status. He no longer allows signature collection in the VFW's parking lot. When he talked to the Durango Herald last week, White was supporting the activity because he said Post 4031 allows almost anyone use of their parking lot, and he did not believe allowing collection of signatures on petitions to recall Lachelt endangered the local post's tax-exempt status. He said the VFW is not taking a position on whether to support or oppose the Lachelt recall. In addition, he said he personally would decide whether to support or oppose the recall only after the recall effort had made it to a ballot and an actual vote.
From Colorado Politics Online, when Colorado voters cast ballots in the upcoming primary election, they'll almost certainly face an unprecedented smorgasbord of candidates spread across an unusually high number of races up and down the ballot. And for the first time, the state's unaffiliated voters, there are slightly more of them than there are either Democrats or Republicans, will have a say in the outcome. The number of major candidates running to replace term-limited Governor John Hickenlooper is approaching double digits, with as many as 4 or 5 likely to qualify for each major party's primary ballot. There are also crowded races for state treasurer in both parties and for attorney general among the Democrats, as well as what's shaping up to be primaries in every one of the state's 7 congressional districts. Throw in a smattering of contests in legislative and other races, and most primary voters will be facing more choices than ever before. In the wake of the 2016 passage of Proposition 108, a ballot measure allowing unaffiliated voters to vote in either the Republican or Democratic primary without having to join either party, politicians and election officials are preparing for an influx of new voters in what have always been partisan affairs. Pundits, pollsters, and political consultants say common perceptions about unaffiliated voters tend to be mistaken, and that those voters' participation in the election could influence the results in ways different than anticipated. Here's what will happen. Starting in early June, Republicans will get a Republican primary ballot in the mail, and Democrats will get a Democratic primary ballot. But most unaffiliated voters will get one of each and have the opportunity to pick which one to fill out and return by the June 26 deadline. Unaffiliated voters can request in advance to receive just one party's, though it's unknown how many will do so. As far as the mechanics go, county clerks will be paying more to print, deliver, and process roughly 50% more ballots than in previous primaries. The Secretary of State's office plans to mount a highly targeted advertising campaign starting next month to educate unaffiliated voters, particularly to encourage them to mark and turn in just one ballot, because if they vote them both, neither will count. Keeping that number down could be critical, election observers say, pointing out that roughly 7% of unaffiliated voters didn't have their votes counted in Washington the first time that state held its open primary, potentially more votes than the margin in some close, crowded races in Colorado this year. DCTV will have more about the primary races here in Dolores County in the near future.
According to the Cortez Journal, one of the most important reservoirs in the Southwest will likely collect less than half its normal amount of spring runoff this year because of a warm, dry winter across most of the region, forecasters said this week. Lake Powell, which straddles Utah and Arizona, is expected to get 47% of its average inflow because of scant snow in the mountains that feed the Colorado River, said Greg Smith, a hydrologist with the Colorado Basin River Forecast Center, part of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Smith said there is only a 10% chance that enough mountain snow will fall during the rest of the winter and spring to bring inflows back to average. It was the 7th worst forecast for Lake Powell in 54 years. Powell, along with Lake Mead on the Nevada-Arizona border, helps ensure the Colorado River system has enough water to get through dry years. The river supplies water to about 40 million people and 6,300 square miles of farmland in 7 states: Arizona, California, Colorado, Nevada, New Mexico, Utah, and Wyoming. The river also serves cities and farms in northwest Mexico. Lackluster runoff into Lake Powell this spring is not likely to have an immediate impact on water users because most reservoirs upriver from Powell filled up after last winter's healthy snowfall, said Marlon Duke, a spokesman for the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, which manages Powell, Mead, and other reservoirs. But consecutive dry winters could mean some water users won't get their normal allotment in future years. And now let's take a look at the weather.
The National Weather Forecast map shows the southwest under the ridge of low pressure, keeping the rain and rain-snow mix in our area of the Four Corners. Snow and some rain are also covering the Pacific Northwest, along with lingering snow over the upper Great Lakes region. The eastern side of the country remains under rain and thunderstorm warnings from eastern Texas across the south and southeast just up to the mid-Atlantic, where they are drying out for the moment under the high-pressure system that is holding back the winter weather all the way across the Midwest and back through to Northern California. Precipitation will come to an end for most of the forecast area by noon today, though a few snow showers will continue over the highest peaks. Some fog will also plague some of the lower valleys, including Delta to Montrose through 10 a.m. Then temperatures will be mild enough that major roadways should be able to begin to melt by this afternoon. The next chance for precipitation will be Wednesday night into Thursday as the next storm system drops down from the northwest. Accumulating snowfall looks probable for most mountainous terrain. Yet another storm is lined up to affect the forecast area on Sunday. The local DCTV forecast shows today scattered rain and snow showers before 10 a.m., then scattered rain showers between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., patchy fog before 10 a.m. this morning, otherwise mostly cloudy with a high near 45 degrees, south winds 10 to 15 with a chance of precipitation at 40%, and then tonight mostly cloudy with a low around 30 degrees, south-southeast winds 5 to 10 miles an hour. Looking ahead, Wednesday mostly cloudy with a high near 46, south-southwest winds 10 to 15 miles an hour with gusts to 25 miles an hour. Wednesday night a chance of rain and snow showers before 1 a.m. and then a chance of snow showers mostly cloudy with a low around 31 degrees, south-southwest winds around 10 miles an hour, and the chance of precipitation at that point is just 30%. Thursday, a 40% chance of snow showers occurs mostly cloudy with a high near 42 degrees, south-southwest winds around 10 miles an hour, becoming west-northwest in the afternoon. Then Thursday night, it drops to a 20% chance of snow showers before 11 p.m., partly cloudy with a low down to 20 degrees. Then Friday, it goes sunny again with a high near 43 degrees. Friday night, mostly clear with a low around 21. Saturday, sunny with a high near 48. Saturday night, mostly clear with a low around 27 degrees. And Sunday, locally, we currently aren't predicting more snow at this time here. It'll be sunny with a high near 49 degrees. Sunday night, mostly cloudy with a low around 25. And now, back to the news.
According to the Cortez Journal, the Dolores School Board and its constituents discussed the 2018-19 school calendar at the district board meeting Thursday night. The issue of the calendar was tabled at January's meeting. According to Superintendent Scott Cooper, during that time, two of the plausible calendars were fine-tuned. He also pointed out that certified teacher surveys showed younger teachers who are trying to start families were in favor of a 4-day school week. Cooper also said that this was a strategy of the district to attract and retain teachers. This 150-day calendar will attract and retain more teachers, he said. In addition, 100 out of 178 districts in Colorado have moved to a 4-day school week, according to Cooper. However, community members and staff who attended the meeting voiced concerns for students who depend on school for food and young children fighting fatigue during a longer day. Board Treasurer Casey McClellan voiced concern that the board's function is to represent the community, and he felt a vote on the calendar on Thursday night would not reflect that mission. Multiple surveys with different calendar options have been made available to Dolores residents, teachers, students, and staff. The board voted unanimously to table the calendar until its next meeting, citing community input.
The Journal reported on today's Cortez City Council meeting that during its Tuesday meeting, the Cortez City Council will hold a public hearing on whether to approve a retail marijuana license for the town's 6th dispensary, among other actions. The meeting will begin at 7:30 p.m. in City Hall after a 5:30 p.m. workshop with discussions on the city's long-range goals, water conservation, and other issues. In the regular meeting, the council will hold a quasi-judicial public hearing on a proposed marijuana dispensary doing business as Chronic Therapy LLC, take final votes on several ordinances that received initial approval at the last meeting, and consider awarding bids for a remodel on the police department building and other 2018 projects. Both the workshop and the regular meeting are open to the public. On January 9th, the council voted to schedule a public hearing on the marijuana shop, which would operate out of the current La Zapata building, on 1020 South Broadway. That according to a memo from City Attorney Mike Green that has met all distance and zoning requirements for a retail marijuana store. If approved, it would become Cortez's 6th dispensary. Also in January, the Cortez City Council joined about 100 elected Colorado officials who signed an open letter to U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions, protesting his decision earlier that month to rescind the Cole Memorandum, a policy directing federal attorneys not to make retail marijuana businesses a priority for prosecution in states where they are legal. The letter, which was published as a full-page ad in the Washington Post on January 31st, says the Cole memo, quote, outlined important public safety protections while providing clear direction to our jurisdictions, end quote, and calls for a bipartisan task force to help again align state and federal policies on marijuana. Memphis Mayor Queenie Bars decided not to sign such a letter. Dolores does not host marijuana shops.
Reported by the Cortez Journal, recent figures say sales at Aspen's marijuana dispensaries last year topped liquor stores in revenue. The Aspen Times reports the city's finance department in its year-end sales tax report for 2017 says legal pot sellers hauled in $11.3 million in revenue last year compared with $10.5 million for liquor stores, marking the first time marijuana sales outpaced alcohol for the year in Aspen. The report says cannabis revenue last year also marked a 16% improvement over 2016, which produced $9.7 million in sales. The marijuana industry also enjoyed the biggest rate of growth last year among the city's 12 retail sectors. The report shows Aspen's retailers combined to generate $730.4 million in revenue, 2% better than 2016.
The Journal reported on the Montezuma County Mounted Patrol. The Montezuma County Mounted Patrol Division's search and rescue skills were put to the test for the first time on February 2nd, when the county first acquired the 3 horses that make up the Mounted Patrol in the spring of 2017. Sheriff Steve Nowlin said he believed they would be invaluable in wilderness areas. They went through scent training last year to track missing people, and on February 2nd, they were called into service after a woman reported her fiancé had gone missing in Ruin Canyon. He turned up safe at home before the searchers got very far into the canyon, but Nowlin said the horses did well. According to an incident report by Patrol Deputy Victor Galazar, Wendy Ferguson reported her fiancé, Mark Westbrook, as missing about 7:40 a.m. She said he had gone on a walk in Ruin Canyon near County Road 10 on January 31st, and she had not seen him since. Westbrook reportedly had no food, water, or cell phone with him, and Ferguson told deputies he had a heart condition. Sergeant Ed Oxley and Deputy Don Brown, 2 of the Mounted Patrol deputies, rode into the canyon to search for Westbrook. The county search and rescue team sent a drone to search the area as well. Nowlin said the horses picked up a trail quickly, but the search was called off just after 15 to 20 minutes when Ferguson told deputies Westbrook had arrived at home. The man said he had been lost in the canyon for 2 nights and almost froze, but he had no reported injuries. Nowlin said it's not uncommon for people in Montezuma County to be found shortly after being reported missing, often by parents whose children wander away. He said he believes the Mounted Patrol will be useful for future searches in areas like Ruin Canyon, where patrol cars can't enter and there's too much open space for deputies to search on foot. Drones, like the one deployed by the search and rescue team, can also spot missing people more quickly from their high vantage point. Quote, when it's such a big area, you can't send people out there, Nowlin said. You cover more ground with horses.
And now for the Dolores County Sheriff's Roundup for the week of February 5th through the 11th. A county resident requested information on options in a landlord-tenant dispute. As this was a civil issue and not a criminal report, dispatch recommended the caller call the courts with their question. They received a report of a suspicious vehicle by a local resident. The officer was unable to locate the vehicle. They received a report of animal abuse. A witness reported 2 subjects beating their dogs. The case is under investigation. That concludes today's roundup. Stay tuned for continued updates.
Today's High Canyon Country happenings. Tonight, February 13th, the Dove Creek FFA is hosting their chili dinner and hired hand and supply auction at the high school commons. Dinner starts at 6 p.m. For $6, you get a bowl of chili, carrots, celery sticks, cheese and crackers, a dessert, and a drink. Children 3 and under are free. The auction starts at 7 p.m. Hired hands are members being auctioned off for an 8-hour day of labor. Think spring cleaning. Donated items from the community are also in the auction. February 17th, Snow Goose returns. 2018 excursions on the Durango and Silverton line. It's hosted by the Galloping Goose Historical Society, Saturday from 8:15 to 4 p.m. For tickets, go to durangotrain.com. Also, it's February 17th, the Great Backyard Bird The Great Backyard Bird Count is hosted by Canyon Country Discovery Center from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. This citizen science event is a wonderful way to volunteer your time. Every year, individuals get together to count and determine the birds that are migrating and living in their area. Come out, enjoy the scenery, and do a little bird watching. And don't forget your binoculars. It's free. For more information on that, go to ccdiscovery.com or their Facebook page, Canyon Country Discovery Center. And all of these happenings are posted on our Facebook page, which is DCTV News at Noon, along with the YouTube replays, weather, and original stories and local posts. To share your event or information, contact us by email, dcbnnews@gmail.com, or call the station 970-677-4119, and we'll be sure to get your news on air.
Thanks for tuning in. News at Noon airs at noon Monday through Thursday and then is rebroadcast at 3 and 6 p.m. on each of those days. The weekday news shows are then replayed throughout the weekend as well.
And be sure to check us out on Facebook. It's DCTV News at Noon. Please like us there and share it with a friend.
For Kendra Cook with DCTV and the News at Noon program out of Dove Creek, USA, I'm Kelsey Kiesling. Thanks for watching.